Now, the death toll from the worst natural disaster to hit Spain in decades is nearing 160 this morning as the desperate search for survivors continues. Torrential rain on Tuesday triggered flash floods which swept away buildings and left residents clinging to trees to survive. The vast majority of those killed were in the eastern Valencia region, where locals are now faced with a massive clean-up.
Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited the flood-ravaged area overnight and is warning the emergency is not over. Michelle Rimmer is following developments from our European bureau.
Residents trudge through debris, searching for belongings and any sign of their loved ones. The task is monumental. Rescuers believe there are still bodies trapped in these cars, unable to get out before the deluge came through.
The
firefighters took the elderly first, when they could get in. I'm from nearby, so I tried to help and rescue people. People were crying all over. They were trapped.
The mammoth floodwaters tore down bridges and tossed cars across highways and crucial rail lines. Train services aren't expected to resume for weeks. A daunting clean-up is underway, but getting in desperately needed supplies and help isn't easy. Many areas are only accessible from the air. Frustration and desperation is growing.
We are not thieves, but we have to eat. What can I give to the child if we don't have electricity?
No one in this area can contact each other because we have no internet. There's about more than 150,000 people that have just been displaced.
Locals and those who have made it to the disaster zone are doing what they can, but with everything coated in a thick layer of mud, even walking is difficult. Spain's Prime Minister has warned the dangerous weather may not be finished. More heavy rain is expected in some of the worst hit areas.
Que no salgan, que se queden en casa.
Do not go out, stay at home, because right now the most important thing is to safeguard as many lives as possible.
Farmers among those hurting. This disaster will have enduring consequences for the region, which is a global exporter of oranges. But for now, the focus is on finding those still missing as floodwaters recede. Michelle Rimmer, ABC News.
All right, let's check in with Michael Rowland now, who is, of course, on the streets of Washington this morning. Good morning again, Michael.
Good morning, James. Yes, it's Halloween here in America, and both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are doing their best not to scare away potential voters as Election Day fast approaches. We'll take you to Nevada, where our colleague Carrington Clarke is in just a moment. But first, another batch of polls today showing how exceedingly close this election campaign is. Lots of focus on the Harris campaign and the Trump campaign. And concerning the latter, I caught up earlier today here in Washington with Emma Doyle. She was a Deputy Chief of Staff in the Trump administration. She is quietly confident her former boss is on track to returning to the White House. She believes he is polling much more strongly on the economy and immigration, visceral issues that she reckons will appeal to so many American voters. It's important to note, though, that the number of available voters is vanishingly small, and I put it to Emma Doyle that Kamala Harris might still be establishing herself with some American voters. For a lot of Americans, they made up their mind about Donald Trump years ago. They either love him or loathe him, and there is not much in the way of middle ground, and I put that to her as a potential challenge for Donald Trump.
I think as a former staffer, I think everybody wants their boss to stay on the teleprompter. That's the easiest way to be a staffer, and to read the words you wrote, not the words they came up with. I think that's normal for staff. But no, I think for his supporters, that's what they want to see. Like, Trump off message is Trump on brand. So if you go to a rally, that fires up his base. They're used to seeing him talk about windmills and whales. That registers with a lot of people, or we wouldn't see the effect and that we still see with people lining up for hours to go see him speak.
Emma Doyle, Deputy Chief of Staff in the Trump White House, also talking there about the challenge Trump staffers have in keeping the former president on message, so to speak, when he makes those appearances at rallies around the country. Speaking of around the country, one of the key states is Nevada, one of the swing states. It'll help determine whether it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris in the White House. Carrington Clarke, my colleague, is there on the ground in Las Vegas. And Carrington, what do the movements of the presidential contenders in the final days of the campaign, particularly in those so-called Sunbelt states, say about where they think the contest is going?
Yeah, so we're seeing these competing sweeps through the so-called Sunbelt over here towards the west coast of the United States. I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Nevada, along with Arizona, are two of those crucial 7 swing states. They were both won by Joe Biden in the previous presidential election, but polls suggest, given that I'm in Las Vegas, I'll use the metaphor, that it is even money right now about who out of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will be able to win here and in Arizona. Donald Trump actually made an additional state visit, which was unexpected, heading to New Mexico, which is not seen as being particularly in contention. But there he referenced his relationship with Hispanics and Latinos, even ran an impromptu poll about which term people preferred, but says that he loves Hispanics and he believes he'll do very well with them. But really, it's Nevada and Arizona that the real focus is on. Kamala Harris is currently speaking in the more northern end of the state at the moment, up in Reno, but she will be coming here to Las Vegas later this evening, and she'll be joined by international superstar Jennifer Lopez. Now, that's crucial because Jennifer Lopez is perhaps one of the best-known Puerto Ricans in the world, and she has already come out and strongly endorsed Kamala Harris, but it's another opportunity for Kamala Harris to remind the audience and the Latino community more broadly about those comments that were made at the Madison Square Garden rally by a comedian who suggested that Puerto Rico was a floating pile of garbage. But really, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump know that they need to win these states. It gets very difficult if they're unable to do so, and so there'll be a huge amount of focus on them in the coming days.
People told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say, so why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said. They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not.
So just explaining what we just heard there, Donald Trump made these comments yesterday. He'd previously been criticised by saying that he would be the protector of women. And then yesterday he took to the stage and in very typical Donald Trump fashion said that his advisors had told him that that terminology was not being well received by a lot of women, and doubled down. Said that not only would he be the protector of women, but he'd do it whether or not they liked it or not, as we just heard. Kamala Harris has responded to that, and again, she's happy whenever Donald Trump is speaking about women or is speaking about the issue of abortion. The Democrats believe it is one of the strongest campaign messages that they have. So any time Donald Trump is spending on that issue, it's time that he's not speaking about the strengths of the Republicans, particularly immigration and the economy. We already went to a Donald Trump rally, well, the preparations for a Donald Trump rally earlier today in Las Vegas. Big crowd there. Over and over again, what I heard from people is what they want to see is a stronger border policy, and they want to see prices come down. So that message is resonating, but Donald Trump, again, not heeding the advice of his advisors, and again, talking about women's issues and abortion.
OK, Carrington Clarke in Las Vegas, Nevada, thank you so much. So, James, Catherine, back to you. That wraps up me today. On Monday's show, I'll be coming to you live from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania being one of the, if not the, key swing states in this US presidential race.
All right, Michael, we are looking forward to it. Thanks for that again. I hope he enjoys Halloween. He'll behave himself, won't he?
Surely he's not going out to a party now and that's why he's had to leave early.
Oh,
Surely
I reckon.
not.
Maybe. Wouldn't surprise me. A bit of trick-or-treating. Fair enough. He's got a very, very big week coming up. We are lucky to have him.
We can't wait.
Aren't we?
Bring on Monday. It's going to be huge.
Big week of US politics. All right, let's get some other news now. And residents across southeast Queensland and the far north of New South Wales are bracing for a second day of stormy weather after dangerous hail swept through late yesterday. Strong winds and heavy rain also hit Gympie, the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast regions, as well as parts of the Tweed and Yukai, with some areas looking like they were blanketed in white. The Weather Bureau is forecasting another day of stormy weather with some large hail, heavy rainfall and possible flash flooding.
Unseasonable rainfall has prompted warnings of an explosion in mozzie numbers in the top end. Some parts of the territory recorded their highest daily rainfall on record in September, with the Bureau of Meteorology reporting similar conditions the following month. There are concerns clouds of mosquitoes will spread diseases like the Ross River virus. The territory's health department is urging residents to take precautions and cover up.
Queensland's Premier will unveil his new cabinet this morning, 4 days after being sworn into the job. David Crisafulli was officially sworn in as Queensland's 41st Premier on Monday after leading the LNP to election victory at the weekend. 3, 2, 1, there it is. He has since been tight-lipped about who will be on his front bench, but details are expected today.
That could have gone wrong. OK, the chair of Queensland's Indigenous Truth-Telling and Healing Inquiry has slammed the Premier's move to scrap the process, saying it's an unprecedented attack on an independent inquiry. Joshua Creamer says the inquiry has been shut down by Premier David Crisafulli for political reasons. He says there may not be another opportunity to hear from the last generation of Aboriginal people who grew up in the mission era. The inquiry started in July and was set to run for 3 years.
Bottled water is being supplied to young children and pregnant women in 2 remote Northern Territory Aboriginal communities after high levels of fluoride were detected in water supplies. It comes as new research out of the US links high fluoride levels in drinking water to lower IQ in children. The Power and Water Corporation has found fluoride levels in Narapi and Alparulam are above the safe limit set by the World Health Organization.
The University of Sydney has launched an investigation after students were filmed tearing up a report on sexual violence at residential colleges. In footage from Wednesday night's Student Representative Council meeting, 2 male students are seen tearing up and throwing pages from the Red Zone report. The 2018 report details disturbing behaviour on campus.